Amazing situation because there are people that tend to pop up 3, 4, 5 years later too, and that complicates the situation even more. As clearly as you think it is delineated in terms of
Mhm.
what is going on then. What
Mhm.
happens? I mean, people make outrageous claims. They may not have any source or base, but they just make outrageous claims later on. And what does it do? It just costs them money with
Yeah.
defending themselves and all of those kinds of things. Well, that brings me, you talked about women, and I'm on your page of domestic violence here.
Mm.
And these are some really bad statistics. You say
Yeah.
1 in 5 women has been raped in her lifetime. Half of those rapes occurred before the victim turned 18. 1 in 4 women has been the victim of severe physical violence by an intimate partner. And 1 in 6 women has been stalked or feared that either she or someone close to her would be harmed or killed by a stalker. So, and I think that the police and so forth are much more attuned to this today, but there are still situations where they can't do anything. I mean, they have to wait a certain amount of time or they have to prove things. So, tell us a little bit about your advice on domestic violence.
Yeah, it's such a grim topic, and yet it's so important. And I think a lot of it, frankly, goes on beneath the surface. We don't really see it. And I think as women with friends, it's our obligation to keep an eye out on each other and make sure that if we have a friend who might be suffering from domestic violence, we give her the resources she needs to get help. These are tough cases to prosecute. It can be very, very difficult for a woman to get out from under an abusive situation. She may not recognize that that's an option she has, and then getting away from someone who has a tendency to violence is itself fraught and dangerous. But the book has resources, online resources, toll-free numbers that a woman can call, and then some advice from really good nonprofits about what to do if you think your friend is a victim. And those are tough conversations, but sometimes silence is consequential, and you never want to be the person who stood by idly while a friend was really suffering. So there are really delicate conversations you can have with friends, things to watch for. If you have a girlfriend who you think is suffering, behavioral patterns, ways of speaking about her relationship. And I wish we didn't have to spend a minute talking about this, right? Because it would be great if everyone treated each other with dignity and respect and peacefully, but that's not the world we live in. Thank goodness there are some legal resources available to people who are being victimized.
And the interesting thing to me is that so many of the people under 18 are victimized by family members. That has
Yeah.
always been so amazing and unbelievable to me. I guess because I was never exposed to that kind of thing. So, I mean, I had never even heard of the word divorce till I was almost 16 years old. And then someone
Wow.
in my family got a divorce, and I said, "What is that?" But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was so uncommon back then and also in my own life. But there's another thing too, and this has come up a couple times, and I find this in watching sometimes Dr. Phil and some of these crazy things that go on there, and that's this online dating.
Hmm.
People say, "Oh, I've been dating this guy for 6 months," and they've never met. I mean, it's all been online.
Yeah.
You don't really know if that person is really that person. They can send you any kind of picture they want. And of course, Dr. Phil, and I have that playing in the background. I really don't listen to it, but I have it playing in the background. I'm working on email and so forth. And the interesting thing is, some of these women, especially, well, I guess mid 40s and 50s age group, have sent them ungodly amounts of money,
Yeah.
and it's just, and these people are not who they say they are. So, what kind of, as a matter of fact, you say something in here about. An entrepreneur who insisted that the word date was passe and the
Yeah.
better term for a social get together would be grouper, which of course is a fish. But I
Right.
just I do know that a lot of people go out in groups, but what about this online dating? How can people who have never met an individual say, "Oh, we've been dating. Yeah, he's my boyfriend. We've been dating for 6 months," and they've never even met?
uh, Welcome to the modern world, the modern internet world, where We can sit back in our comfy chairs and sort of shake our heads at what's become of us, right? Where people can be strangers and yet dating, where you can swipe with Tinder to the right or to the left to render your verdict on someone else's suitability as a date. It seems really harsh and crazy, but it's the world we live in. And I think one thing the internet has done with romance on the positive note is just completely expanded the pool, which for people who are older or maybe have special interests is a godsend. But I think this is where I'm going to sound like a lawyer, forgive me, and say, trust but verify. Be careful. Don't send money to someone you don't know, for heaven's sakes. Wasn't it hard to earn? Don't you care about allocating your hard-earned money, not necessarily to sweet-talking strangers? Be aware that not everyone is as nice as you are, that people aren't always what they seem, and there's a way to check and verify. And certainly for first dates that are people you've met online, meet in a safe place. Don't go back to someone's home. Tell your friends where you're going. Use common sense. I know it doesn't sound romantic, but it's appropriate. And no nice person who you've just met will fault you for being a little careful. You certainly don't want to be with someone who doesn't respect and understand your desire to have a safe first date experience.
No, and I have to tell you, I just left someone who I have been friends with for over 10 years, a divorced man, and
Mm.
he met a divorced woman online. They had, I think they spoke, I don't know, only 2 or 3 times. They went out, and now they are a couple. And I
Mm.
said, well, how long have you known each other? I think it's maybe 3 months. But
Yeah.
he's so happy with her. I met them. They're both. I mean, she's lovely, and it's a great match. But he says, I am so lucky because I didn't want to go through the baby thing again because he's got 2 kids and she
Mm.
already has 2 kids and is not
Mhm.
interested in having another one. And she said, I met such idiots and jerks online and they all either wanted to bed you the first night or were not who they said they were. And,
Mm.
I really liked what you had to say. So there are people who do very well by being online and finding each other. And I think that's wonderful. Well, we have just a few minutes left. Is
Mhm.
there something in your book that I have not mentioned that you would like to comment about?
Yeah, I mean, I think, as I say, it's meant to be easily digested advice so that you can take a look wherever you are in life's journey and just read in. Let's say you've got kids who are turning into teenagers. I have a lot of advice in the book about dealing with teenagers, their propensity to get in harm's way, not because they're bad kids, just because they have no judgment, as far as I can tell, until much later in life. Skim the book, look at the chapter, get familiar with what might be ahead. I'm not saying things will happen to you. I'm just saying if they do, I'd like you to be prepared. A lot of the book, you mentioned divorce earlier, by necessity talks about divorce, child support, and custody because it's just so prevalent. And it doesn't have to be a catastrophe if you take care of yourself, find someone with good advice, use free online resources. A lot of people aren't aware that you can research your own divorce for free or sometimes get a divorce for free. Rare, possible, all in the book. So I want to just serve as a trusted, friendly, but, straight talking companion to women who maybe don't have a lawyer in the family and need a little bit of help. So I hope people purchase the book, have the book
Well,
nearby in that way. Purchase or borrow or take it out of the library. However it gets to you, I will feel better knowing that I've made a difference in women's lives, made their lives a little easier, and made them feel smarter.
well, you have, Lisa. And again, the book is On Your Case, a comprehensive, compassionate, and only slightly bossy legal guide for every stage of a woman's life. Thank you for being with us, Lisa Green. And go to the bookstores, order it. I guess you can get it on Amazon. Wherever books are sold, you're going to find this. And you do want to keep this on your bookshelf. And that's what Judge Judy Shenlin says. Judge Judy, from the courts, should be on every woman's bookshelf, is what she says. So I agree. Fantastic book, fantastic interview. Thanks so much, Lisa.
Oh, my great pleasure. Good to talk to you.
Thanks.